marks 2 years since the abrupt U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, where the nation watched the scenes unfold. You remember this, people trying to evacuate the country in a chaotic and deadly exit. Now, despite assurances it wouldn't happen, the Taliban did quickly regain power in a matter of about 10 days. Since the exit from America's longest war, House Republicans have demanded answers about the administration's handling of that situation. Now, with control of the House, the GOP has ramped up investigations into the White House response in the final days leading up to the U.S. departure. This week, lawmakers heard emotional testimony for the first time directly from family members of some of the 13 service members killed in a suicide bombing at the Kabul airport. In a moment, we will bring in Michael McCaul, chair of House Foreign Affairs Committee, and Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. But joining us first in studio, Fox News congressional correspondent Aisha Hasni with more on those emotional testimonies from the Gold Star families.
Yes, very, very emotional. I'm sure you are watching as well. Good morning to you, Shannon. You know, these families, a lot of them have been silent for the past 2 years. That's because they were waiting patiently for this administration to explain the decisions made on the ground. Well, now they're tired of waiting and they're lashing out.
I live every single day knowing that these deaths were preventable. My daughter could be with us today.
Christy Shamblin chokes up as she remembers her daughter-in-law, Sergeant Nicole Gee, one of the 13 U.S. service members killed by a suicide bomber at Kabul's airport during that chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. This week, Shamblin and 5 other Gold Star families spoke out at a public forum, accusing the Biden administration of failing their children and then trying to cover it up.
We were told lies, given incomplete reports, incorrect reports, total disrespect.
Today, the administration refuses to take any responsibility, denies the evacuation was chaotic, and even calls it a success.
When our leaders call this evacuation a success, it is like a knife in the heart.
They have a real hard time when the administration calls this withdrawal a success. Do you still believe it was a success?
We believe it was the correct policy choice. But
Was
again,
it a success?
hold on. We believe it was the correct policy choice. But again, I would never want to quibble with a family member who has suffered such an enormous tragedy.
These grieving parents now just want an apology and department leaders to resign, but have little hope that will ever happen.
My son needed a commander-in-chief who cared solely about his life. Instead, his commander-in-chief chose to use him as a pawn.
When Fox asked both the state and the Pentagon if mistakes were made, neither would admit that. But state did refer us to its after-action report, which found, Shannon, that they could have done some things better. But again, we pressed and pressed and pressed, and they just will not admit that anything went wrong here. No mistakes were made.
We did a fantastic job reporting and pressing this week.
For those families.
Yeah.